G'day everyone, today I've got Jerome from Future Post with me. And for those who don't know you, Jerome, how do you like to introduce yourself and describe what you do and why it matters to New Zealand so much?
My name's Jerome Wenzlick and I started Future Post. That was damn near 9 years ago now when I first had the idea and thought that I'd just go to the shop and buy a machine that would recycle all of our plastic, and unfortunately there was no such thing. So yeah, me and the team were stupid enough and ugly enough to persevere, and we built a machine, and spent a few years making it work and growing the business to where it is here. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
You've been turning plastic waste into something generally useful for years now. So before we talk about recent events, can you give me a quick sense of the scale of Future Post, the scale of what you guys have been doing? If there's any sort of numbers around what sort of amount of plastic you're recycling a year?
Like I say, we've been running for 8 years now, so it was about a year of planning and everything before. So we started with one machine in Waiuku, and after about 2 years, we built another machine there, and then 3 years ago we built 2 more machines in Blenheim. Basically take, 98% maybe roughly of the soft plastic collections in the supermarkets and the like. We take plastic from the likes of Fonterra's and the all the big brands in the country that produce plastic packaging and waste. We take a lot of that. And, when we've got Blenheim and Waiuku pumping, we'll get through 4,000 tonne of plastic in a year. So that's sort of the scale of where we're at. We employ 26 people at the moment, but we have employed 37, 38 when it was peak times. But, I think everyone knows the economy has been tough in the last year or so, and we've had to, we've downscaled a little bit of the production to match that. But that's sort of where we're at.
Yeah, I don't think people realise the scale of how much plastics you guys actually recycle and what goes into it. And then, of course, as well, as you said, it's dropped in this last year with the wine industry being impacted quite significantly too. But now let's just go on to, let's talk about the obvious elephant in the room, the recent fire. What happened from your perspective, mate? Be open and honest about it.
It ain't my perspective, it's a fact. But on the 26th, 25th of November, we had a human being decide it was going to be cool to light fire to our site. He had a goal in mind and he persevered. The video cameras show him lighting it or trying to light it, and his matches were wet. And then he went to the petrol station and showed him buying a lighter, and he succeeded in his goal of lighting the plastic on fire. So I'll give him that. But yeah, basically burned down our whole outgoing site with all our finished product and incoming plastic and a few machines and a whole lot of other stuff. Yeah, and it's just been a something we never planned for. It's put us completely on the back foot with the costs involved in it, and getting us back to normal.
Yeah, I know it's had like a big impact on you, on the business, staff, production, orders, and your ability to keep taking plastics in. So sort of what sort of where do we sit now with it for people listening? What's the one thing that would help them understand where it's sort of where you're sitting right now?
Well, look, we thought we could trade our way out of this. We got a little bit of insurance money. It just hasn't covered all of the costs that we've incurred. Simple as that. We have got to the point where we've had discussions with the government around a bit of assistance with this, and it's just been going on and on and on and on. Unfortunately, some of these guys that we owe a bit of money to have said we've had a guts full of waiting. We've sort of got to that point where we've said, we need a hand, and, this government isn't helping us. We've had a little bit of government assistance over the last 8 years, a bit with the startup and a bit with a bit of R&D, but as far as waste minimisation funding, we've had nada, and we've had every excuse under the sun why we don't. Otherwise, we're in production and, still battling away, but it's just those costs that we incurred have just bloody crippled us. So, that's why we've gone public, and it's been unbelievable, actually, in the last week since we did from everyone helping us out. So
I think that's the thing as well. Like, people know your business. You're a good bloke. People love what you do. But people, I guess, didn't really know what had happened with the fire unless you were in the know. And I guess that's why, going public now, everyone's like happy to help because of all of these things, and they understand that. Some people understand what goes on with what you do and what could happen if you don't do it. You sit right now in the middle of New Zealand as New Zealand attempts to do something sensible with plastic waste. How much plastic have you been able to process and turn into post over the years? Do you know a number on that?
Caught me on that one. Look at it without having a look. I would guess over 8 years, I reckon we've gone through. It would have to be 25,000 tonne. I would have to look to give you an accurate figure, but roughly something like that, 25,000 tonne.
That's a big number. I wish I sort of had some sort of calculator that could say that's so many elephants or something like that. I don't know.
You think about a bread bag, weighs whatever it is, 30 grams or something. It's a hell of a lot of loose plastic.
Let's look at it now. So if this all falls over, worst case scenario, it's not going to, because we're going to get heaps of people going now, let's give Jerome some more money. If Future Post wasn't operating, what does that mean for the plastic that we're all generating, especially those streams that don't have many other, there's not many other local options. So what would happen with sort of, all the soft plastic?
Well, there's only one place for it. We're generally the last port of call. The amount of people that call me every day and say, we've got this plastic, no one else wants it, can you guys use it? Otherwise, it's going to landfill. And when you look at our site, it's the plastic packaging forum, and that collection scheme works fantastically. We've made our machines work to handle that plastic, and as you know, it's not a nice clean single polymer. It's all sorts of different colors and stuff, but it works bloody well. It works really well, that collection scheme. That would fall over, all of that, every bit of plastic that, mum and dad or whoever the hell else puts it in the bin would end up going in the skip bin on the side of the road. So it's more work for a council, and it would fill up our landfill, If we're not using it, it's going to go to landfill, and that's all there is to it.
I knew you were going to say that. And again, I know it for a fact. I don't know how many times I've called you and said, hey, mate, I've got this guy that's spoken to me, and he's got all of these rolls of plastics, or, all these bags, all this stuff, or there's been a reject order, what have you. I know I've done it as well. And I've been on your site a few times and seen, product there from other places doing the same thing. So it's a huge deal that what you guys do, what you came up with, what you invented, how you made it work. And I know it's been copied over the world as well. People have stolen your idea doing the same thing.
They've tried, Stefan, but
yeah.
No, the one thing about a machinery in our process, it is unique. Using the waste plastic that we do and making the uniform product at the end, that's what is that's where we stand out compared to a lot of these other outfits. I've seen some of their product, and for me as a farmer or a fencer, I look at it and I go, that is shit. Like, I wouldn't use it. And that, this is the thing with recycling, right? It's all good to recycle and make something, but if it's no use to any bugger, it ain't going to carry on, is it? So that's half our battle.
I've seen your posts; they last. I've seen them being stumped in the ground, all sorts of stuff going on with it, and they're durable and they actually last. And so it's your secret sauce, ain't it? That makes it work, so it actually does do the job. And you've got that experience, as you say, as a fencer, farmer, doing that you can make sure that the products are fit for purpose. How do you see your role in a wider system with councils, brands, recyclers, schemes, trying to make plastic management more circular, or any of those that I've mentioned could do to make it easier for you guys to actually increase your sales or get things going better?
Yeah, well, like I say, it's no use us recycling plastic into a post if the council doesn't buy it and use it to put a bollard around a park, right? That's the whole circularity thing. So for us, it is education with people to show that the product does the job. And, as time goes on, it's good for us because a lot of people want a bit of time to see how it performs and what it does. But, we are making inroads there. I think we need more council buy-in with what we're doing, because in essence, we're saving them a job. Like I say, they're not having to pick it up on the side of the road. If we're talking about soft plastic,
I mean, you know, I've seen multiple of your installations around the country as well. You know, these bollards have been standing there for ages. I've even seen a guy back into one day, and it made more damage to his car, I think, than a wooden one would. That's what they're there for, to give a little on what's needed. You've now got to give a little page running to help keep Future Post going through this period. What prompted that, and what's the goal?
Oh, well, like I say, the prompt was we were getting nowhere with our government around assistance, right? Financial assistance. And I think, like I said on one of the interviews, we're not looking for a bloody handout. We're not bludgers, but you know, we need a bit of a hand, and we know there's money that's levied. It should be available to companies like us, you know. And so, in short, that's what prompted it. You know, aside from, you know, having to pay a few bills that we're getting, you know, sort of quite urgent. Like I've said before, it's the last bloody thing I want to do is to go in front of a camera and, you know, sober up shit creek, like I think I said. You know, that's the last thing what I want to do. But I don't know, sometimes you just got to swallow your pride and put it out there, and that's what we've done, you know. And so far, like I said at the start, we've had a hell of a lot of good buggers assist us and help us. And
anyone else listening, there'll be a link in the bottom here for you to have a look at every time I post this and repost bits and pieces. So practically speaking, what will the support allow you to do? Is it about retaining staff? Because I know you've talked about that, restoring capacity, bridging cash flow, or is there anything else? You know, is there anything else anyone can help with in this as well?
Oh, look, all of the above, what you said, of course, that's a priority. But I guess part of it is to, you know, some of it get the name out there and keep pushing sales, you know. Like I say, we've got plenty of councils that use our bollards. There's plenty of others out there that know about us, but sitting on the fence, excuse the pun, and they should be using them. I'm sick of going to you go to Auckland Airport and you see these wooden bollards set in concrete, rotten. I just think, you stupid buggers, if you use one of ours, they look 100 times better, and you ain't going to be replacing them from rotting away at ground level. You know, it's just simple practical things like that. Think about the long term instead of the short term. You know, if our bollard is $3 more than a wooden one and it's going to last 10 times as long, shouldn't that be a no-brainer instead of penny pinching over a few bucks here and there?
Yeah, I could not agree with you more there, mate, because it's 100% what I see. As I said to you, someone backing into them, you see the wooden one snap and they got to replace it. Your one just stayed solid. You know, for someone who's listening here and says, I'd like to help, what's the most useful thing they can do right now? Just, is it promote you guys, push it out there?
Like you say, look, we have got this Give a Little campaign running, and, you know, if there's someone out there who thinks he can help, he can go on there and give us a buck or two, and we'd appreciate that. But yeah, otherwise, give us a ring if you do have something that our post can do, you know, whether it's bollards or parking stops or bit of fencing here and there, give us a ring, and yeah, we'll help you out.
I know we sort of covered this, but you know, beyond this, Give a Little, you know, what kind of backing or changes would make the biggest difference for you right now? You know, we've said government, industry, wider community. You know, this is your chance to go big, mate. Is there anything else you can think of that, you know, apart from government, DOC, all of those guys, get their shit together, start using your bollards?
For us, that is the answer, you know. The more of them we get on board, then we're, you know, we'll be around in 20 years' time, and maybe we'll have another 2 factories, which means we can recycle more plastic. At the end of the day, you know, every day I tell people we can't take their plastic. You know, we can only recycle what we can, and all of that is dependent on sales out the other end.
You know, this has been a major setback. You're clearly still talking about the future. Just then you did. You know, what does a realistic rebuild and move forward sort of scenario look like for Future Post? Because I know you've started to rebuild already. So what does the rest look like going forward?
Getting back onto a solid footing and focusing on what we need to focus on. You know, the last thing we want to do is lay off staff, and keep pumping and just keep growing if we can, you know, in a good way. So that's our focus for now. We're not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but that's where we're looking.
Yeah, so what keeps you motivated to push on with this? You know, given everything that's happened, is there something there that you just go, right, get up every day, this is why?
Mainly beer. Cold beer.
It looks like it's a bit of a warm day today, mate, so you might need one.
No, I don't know. Look, when you look at all the comments on this Give a Little thing, all of our staff have it's given them such a bloody kick seeing how the whole country is behind us. Quite weird in a way, you know. That certainly does. And all of our, we're a good team of people. Everyone at Future Post and everyone who's involved with Future Post are a good pack of buggers, So I guess that's what sort of motivates us to keep on going. And at the end of the day, we're trying to do something good. I saw a comment or something the other day, and why the hell, the government invests every day in useless buggers, and here's a company that's doing good work and trying to help the country, and it can't get any investment. So
yeah, you do sometimes just sit there when that sort of stuff goes on and think, well, this is actually good. It's employing people. It's it's good for the economy. So it's ticking more than one box as well. So it's like, come on, let's just get on with it. Because as you're right, if you put another factory, it just means more stuff, and they've got the overriding want to actually make you sell more too.
We ain't whinging bludgers. That is as far from reality as it is. But at the end of the day, if the government collects money for a purpose, i.e., companies that minimise waste to landfill, they should bloody spend it on what they collect it for. And for me, it's not for our handout, but it's bloody frustrating, because you think, well, if we had a bit of that assistance, we'd be in a far better position,
So if people want to follow your journey, support the Give a Little page, talk to the guys at Future Post, yourself, or what have you, about how they can help, where's the best place to find you and Future Post?
Yeah, I guess look up the Give a Little page, look up Future Post on the internet. Yeah.
And finally, what's one message you'd like New Zealand to hear about why keeping Future Post alive actually matters?
Here's one reason. We quite often get comments from visitors to this country, tourists, who go into the supermarkets and see the plastic collections there, the soft plastic. And we quite often get them email or call us and say, shit, this is bloody good. It is good to see a company in New Zealand collecting this rubbish and making something into it here. So it all helps with our good New Zealand name. Both of our factories have got a New Zealand flag up in the roof, to remind us of that. So that's one reason why we cannot fail,
Thanks very much for talking to me today, mate, and we'll get this up soon.
Yeah, Stefan, thank you.